Hi everyone, nice to see you, and today we're gonna follow up with our JavaScript course. And after the variables that we've learned in the last video, today we're gonna talk about the types of data that you are able to use in JavaScript. So first, let's start with numbers. So how do we use numbers? So well, we can just declare a variable, let x equal 3. So now we have the number 3 inside the x variable. So it would be better if we enable Quokka here. So for those of you who haven't installed Quokka yet, you need to do so from the extensions here and install Quokka from the marketplace. And then we just need to do Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P on Mac and start Quokka on the current file. Okay, much better. Now if I say x, we will get the result. X is 3. This is from Quokka. So let me close this and let us enter Zen mode. So we just need to do Control-Shift-P and then write Zen here and toggle Zen mode, and here we are, free from everything else other than the codes. Okay, so we can also have decimal numbers. Let's say let d equal 3.4. So now we have our decimal number. And let's talk about some operations with some basic operators that we can use. So we can use addition with plus. Let equal let's say 3 plus x, and then if I print add below, it will show us 6 because we can use variables inside the operations, and I can change this to 60, and then the result, what's inside add now, would be 63. And we can also use subtractions. Let sub equal, let's say, 60 minus d. And if we print sub here, we have 56.6. What else do we have? Okay, let me show you multiplication and division. Let multiplication equal let's say x times d, and we have 10.2. and last, for our basic operators here, of course later we are going to talk about maybe more complex operators, but last here would be division. If we want to divide 20 with x and print division, we have the result of our division. So this is one of the data types that we are going to be able to use inside JavaScript. Now let's talk about strings. Strings are just text, and the way we declare strings is by putting them inside quotes or double quotes. So for example, I can say let person equal, we add the double quotes, and I will say John Doe, and I've just used the string. If I print out person here, it will print John Doe without the double quotes, of course. And so how do I use quotes then? Well, here is a shortcut that I want to show you. While I want to duplicate this line here, we can just do Alt, Shift, and down arrow, and that will duplicate the line. So I want to say quote here. So instead of double quotes, I can just use quotes here, and I can say Lisa, and if I print code, it prints the same thing, so it's no different. However, there would be an error if I want to print I'm alright here, because the quotes are defining the strings, and now I have another quote inside the quotes, which cancels the end of the quotes. So what we can do is add a backslash here, and that will fix the problem. Or if we intend to use multiple quotes inside the string, we can just use double quotes as the container instead. So here I can use a quote instead, like say I'm good, and we don't have any problems. The same goes for the double quotes. If we want to use double quotes, it's easier to use them inside quotes. So I can say here she said, and then I will add double quotes here, and then the double quotes are considered as part of the string. Okay, so other than that, we also have template strings or template literals. So let's say I want to create a variable here. First name, let's say John, and I want to create an introduction, and I want the content of introduction to have John inside it, or whatever first name I put up there. So if I want to say, for example, hello, I am John, and I live in New York, for example. And if we want to replace John here and the string here, and then concatenate the two strings, and then put the first name inside it, if I print introduction here, you can see that we have hello, I am John, and I live in New York. But a better way of doing this is with template literals or template strings. So instead of using double quotes or quotes, we use backticks instead. So here we can write our template string. So if I want to write the same thing, hello, I am John, and I live in New York. So if I want to replace this value with a variable, I can just use the $sign and then brackets, and then put the variable here. And now we have the result here. Hello, I am John, and I live in New York. And our next data type is Boolean. So a Boolean is a data type that returns only true or false. So why do we need this type of data? Of course, when we want to check something. When would we need that? Well, all the time. Because when we want to ask a yes or no question, that's when we use Booleans. Okay, so let me show this to you with an example. So let's say we have the score of the student. We have score equal, let's say 14, for example. And then let's create a string. We're already using the two data types that we've used before. Let's say const good equal you've done great. And let's say const bad equal better next time. Next time. And I want to know if the score is good or bad. So let's say that the score is good if it is higher than 10, or else it would be bad. Okay, so let's say we have this variable good score. So if the score of the student is higher than 10, good score would be true, else it would be false, right? So in order to do that, we can just write score is more than 10. And this comparison, if it is true, then the content of good score is true, okay? And we can create another variable below that and say bad score equal score is less than 11. So now I can print good score and bad score. And as you can see, as Coca already runs this file now, we can see the result here. So the score is 14. So good score, if score is more than 10, then this comparison is true. And then as this is true, then good score is true. And as you can see here, that's what printed out here. And the same goes for bad score here, because score is less. So here we test if score is less than 11, which is false because the score is more than 11. So that's why bad score is false here. Okay, so let's say that if the student has a good score, we print this string here. And if the student has bad score, then we print this string here. So let's say let result equal, we will put an empty string, and then we will test if the student has a good score or a bad score. So I say if, and then add a parenthesis, and then good score. So this will test if good score is true. And then after that I can just say result equal good, right? And I can duplicate that line and say bad score, and then result will be bad. And then we can just print the result here. And as you can see, we have you've done great based on the score up here. So if I put 9, then we have a different result. We have better next time. So what is happening here? So the score is 9. So here we say that good score then would be false, as score is not more than 10. But bad score is true because the score is less than 11. So this if statement here tests if good score is true and put good inside the results. Otherwise, if it's not true, then good won't be put inside the result. And at the same time, it checks if bad score is true and then puts the bad variable inside the result. So based on which of these two variables are true, then that's what's put inside the result variable here. So if I put a value more than 10, then the result gets updated to you've done great, because that's what inside result if good score is true. So that's all about Booleans. We will get into more practical examples later, hopefully. But now let's talk about null. So when is the type of a variable null? We use null when we want to have a result, but there isn't anything that we have to offer. So null is the intentional absence of any object, any data from a request. So for example, we want to get the link of a picture, and let's say picture link. So normally if we have something that matches our search, then we would get the URL. But if there isn't anything from where we want to request the picture, for example, then we will get the null value. And that's it about null. So now you know. Maybe later we will have examples about the uses of null. Now let's talk about objects. An object is a type of data that can contain multiple values or properties at the same time. So for example, we have a person, let's say like person, and we say person equal, then we open the bracket, and we can now list the properties of the person. Like for example, the person can have a name, and then we use colon here. Name is John, for example. And the person can also have an age, let's say 30. Sex, let's say male. And let's add some Boolean here. Loves guitar. And say true. So now we have the person object that has a name, an age, a sex, and the loves guitar property. And now we can log the content of this person. We can just write person here, and we have those values. And in order to get one of them, so to print them out, we can do person dot name, but it won't show up with Coca here unless we put it inside a console.log. And then if we say person.name, so in order to access the properties inside the object, we just need to use dot after the name of the object, which is person here. So if I say person.name, it will look for the variable person and then for the name inside the person. And I can print the age at the same time. Let's check if he loves guitar. Yes, it is true here. So that's what an object is. So we can also use variables as the value of the properties of an object. For example, let's say let age equal 30 here, and then we can just use age here, and then this one will refer to this variable that we've created here, and this is not a variable on its own because it is a property of person. So if I change this to 40, then we can see that the age of the variable person here has been updated to 40. Okay, so that's it about objects. Okay, so now let's talk about arrays. So arrays can contain multiple values, but not in the same way as objects do. Arrays are used to contain lists. So for example, if we want to have a list of students, we can just do let students. So in order to say that this is an array, we just need to open the brackets and then put a list of value here. For example, I can say we have John and Lisa, and now we have an array of strings because we have strings here. So if I want to see the content of what's inside the student's variable, it shows me that I have an array with John and Lisa inside the array. And how do I do if I want to print out the first value inside the array? Well, in order to do that, I can just do students and then open the brackets here, and in order to get the first value of the array, we use 0 because 0 is the first index of the array of an array in JavaScript. So if we put this inside a console.log, then we get John. John is the first element inside our students array. So if I put 1 here, then we have Lisa, so on. If I have 2, 3, 4, then if I have 4 here, for example, that would mean the 4th element, that would mean the 5th element of the array. But of course we don't have that here, so that's why it prints undefined there. In order to insert a value inside this array, we can just do students dot push and put the new value that we want to insert here, like Maria, for example. And then now here we didn't have any third element here because these are only 2, and we have the first element is 0, first is 0, and second is 1, and third is 2. So here we only have 2 elements. So the third element, which is at the index of 2 inside the array, is still undefined here. But if we print it after we pushed Maria inside the students array, now we have the third element, which is Maria. Okay, so that's gonna be Maria. So I hope that this video has given you guys an overview of data types inside JavaScript, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.